Hi, welcome back. Just a quick look at the my electric setup. How I've got it run. Where it is, it's in the front of the van. So there's a driver's seat, and it's in a bench seat under the bench seat at the front. Cushions to go on here, cushion back there, and then this lifts up on a gas strut to be able to get to anything I need to in here. So the basic setup is it's all Victron stuff. A 200 amp hour lithium battery, a non-isolated DC to DC charger, 30 amp, an MPPT 150 45 TR, whatever that means. There's the Serbo GX, which sends lots of lovely signals to the LED display, showing me what's going on with the battery and the inverter charger. At the moment it's hooked up to the grid, so it's just pulling in a bit of power from there. The AC loads and the solar. I'm indoors, there's no light, so that's not doing anything. And above it I have the inverter charger controller, a remote controller, which I can turn on from up here. I can turn on the inverter or the charger when I need to, rather than having to pull up the bench seat and then turning the Multiplus 1600 on and off, which I had done when I was first using the van. It's a bit of a pain, so I got the remote controller, which is very useful. Yeah, it's I had to ask the company where I got it all from to do a schematic for me, otherwise I wouldn't have had a clue. They've done a very good schematic. It asks for it not to be copied, so I'm not copying it. It's just for illustration purposes only. The only thing I've added is the remote controller, the inverter remote controller, which basically plugs into the Serbo GX. But all the information is there that I needed. All very useful. Quite a good spec. There's a very thick cables they've specified, which is probably a bit of an overkill, but you know what, it doesn't matter. The amount of cable I needed is not too expensive. All the 12 volt outlets here, not forgetting to put your main your high current drawers nearest to the feed. This one coming off here is to a resettable fuse, which is for the bed electric motors, because I haven't got a stop on the motors at the moment. When I raise the bed, I just have to listen to the sound of the motors as they strain a little bit, so I could potentially overload them, and this fuse would pop, and then I just need to reset it. I'm also putting a fuse on in front of each of the motors. The battery is held in place with a stainless steel angle iron, which I've dipped in plastic so that if it does come anywhere near the battery poles, it won't do anything. And then that goes down into the chassis, sort of at the bottom, hooks around with thread ends, and pull that in nice and tight. Don't know what else to say about this really. It's the main fuse for the main system, and that's for the solar panel. And I have yet to put in a little switch so that when we shut these two off, at the moment the system still draws a little bit of power to power the Servo GX, so that needs to be installed so that when we leave it, I can turn the 3 switches off, and then the whole system will be won't be there'll be nothing on the system at all, and won't drain any of the battery. I've got some vents to put in around the place. Probably one under there. This seems to get fairly hot when it's in use, charging the battery. The solar panel, the MPPT, doesn't seem to get that warm, but that certainly does. So I'm going to put a vent in down here somewhere, probably one or two, and then another one along there. Behind here, where the cushion sits against, this is all hollow behind here. There's a cavity all the way along here, and then we'll have some venting along the top, maybe a bit down the side, so that you can dissipate the heat. On this side, I've got it sort of divided into 2 halves. On this side, the inverter is mounted horizontally or through 90 degrees. You can do that. I did check. That's okay to do. And this is the mains inlet, the shore inlet, which comes into a circuit breaker. So if there's anything wrong with the feed, this will trip. From there it goes into the inverter, and then from the inverter to the other fuse board, little fuse board here, which then power points, lights and fridge. Sorry, not the fridge, because it's a 12-volt fridge. But yeah, I think I need to change those because they're not quite right. So that powers the 240, and here I've got a little bit of ducting just to protect the hot air vent, which comes around and out of the bottom there, conveniently opposite the oven. So if we have a tea towel draped over the oven handle, it catches a bit of warmth. This is the ducting from the hot air, which runs off gas or electric. It comes from underneath here. The heater is in the back of the van, and it runs through to the front, splits here, goes into the shower room at that point, and then a bit of a tight bend that comes back round to the outlet into the front of the cab. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with the system. It all works very well. It's a 410 watt solar panel, which it all just works really well. It's a good layout. Obviously, all the spaghetti of 12-volt cables everywhere, but it would be nice to be behind panelling so you don't see any of it, but it's not. So that's just the way it is. And at some point I might try and put a little sort of tray above all this, a little platform here, and then I could have some sort of maintenance tools in this area. In this area we put the hose for filling up with water, and just some other bits and pieces. Oh, the cable for the shore power, and the hose just conveniently in there. Yeah, so that's the setup for the electrics. Cheers.